My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, and I worked as a nurse at St. Mary's Children's Hospital in Detroit, Michigan, for 8 years. What I'm about to share changed my life forever and forced me to leave the profession I loved. It all started on a rainy Tuesday night in October. I was on the night shift in the pediatric ward, responsible for administering routine vaccines to newborns. The hospital always followed strict protocols. Each vaccine vial was sealed, clearly labeled, and had identifying codes. But that night, something was off. When I opened the medication fridge, I noticed the vaccine vials had an unusual color. Normally, vaccines are clear or slightly yellowish. These vials contained a greenish, almost fluorescent liquid that seemed to pulse under the fridge's cold light. I figured it might be a new batch or formulation, but my gut told me otherwise. Dr. Harrison, the head pediatrician, always told us to question anything that seemed unusual. I decided to check the identification codes on the vials. To my shock, the codes didn't match any known vaccines. Instead of the usual numbers like VAC 2023 Hep B, I saw strange labels: Ven Cobra Naja 001, Ven Rattler Crotalus 002, Ven Coral Macrurus 003. My heart started racing. Venom? Cobra? Rattlesnake? This couldn't be real. I grabbed my phone and took photos of the vials. Then I searched the hospital system for those codes. What I found chilled me to the bone. The codes were linked to a research project classified as confidential, restricted access. I tried to dig deeper, but my credentials were denied. The screen just said, Project Serpents, Level 7 authorization required. I looked into the nursery through the glass. 6 babies slept peacefully, unaware of the horror unfolding. 3 of them were scheduled to receive their vaccines within the hour. I had to make a decision. Following protocol could mean poisoning innocent children, but raising questions could cost me my career, or worse. I chose to investigate. I went to the medical records archive and started reviewing the files of babies who had received these vaccines in recent months. What I found horrified me. Of the 47 newborns who received the injections over the past 3 months, 23 developed severe neurological symptoms: seizures, temporary paralysis, breathing difficulties. 12 died within 48 hours of the shot. The medical reports listed the deaths as sudden infant death syndrome or postnatal complications. None mentioned the vaccines as a possible cause. My mind started connecting the dots. The symptoms matched neurotoxin poisoning, the exact type found in snake venom. Just then, Dr. Harrison entered the room. His usually kind face was stern, almost menacing. "Sarah," he said in a low voice, "I see you've been doing some interesting research tonight." My blood ran cold. How did he know? The computer system must have been monitored. "Doctor, I noticed some irregularities with the vaccine vials," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He walked toward me slowly, his footsteps echoing in the silent hallway. "Irregularities? Or maybe you found something you weren't supposed to see." That's when I realized I was in danger. Dr. Harrison, the man I once respected, now looked like someone else entirely. His eyes had a cold, calculated gleam. "Sarah, you're a talented nurse. It would be a shame if something happened to you because of excessive curiosity." Dr. Harrison's threat echoed in my mind, but I couldn't just ignore what I had discovered. 3 babies were still scheduled to receive their vaccines that night, and I was the one responsible for administering them. I pretended to agree with the doctor and promised not to ask any more questions. He watched me for a few minutes before leaving, but I noticed he left his office door slightly open, something he never did. He was monitoring me. I waited until I was sure he had left the floor, then made a desperate decision. I took one of the syringes with the greenish liquid and hid it in my bag. I needed solid evidence. At 3:30 a.m., it was time for the first vaccine. Baby Johnson, a boy only 36 hours old, slept peacefully in the nursery. His parents had gone home to rest, trusting us to take care of their son. My hand trembled as I picked up the syringe. I knew I couldn't inject snake venom into that child, but I also knew Dr. Harrison was watching everything through the security cameras. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I faked the injection. I waited until the cameras turned away, removed the needle from the baby's arm without injecting anything, and emptied the contents of the syringe onto a piece of gauze, which I quickly threw into the hospital waste bin. I repeated the same process with the other 2 babies. They were safe, for now, but I needed more evidence. During my break, I went down to the hospital's basement, where the old records were kept. Using my credentials, I accessed files from the past 5 years. What I found devastated me. Project Serpents had been active for 3 years. Hundreds of babies had been used as test subjects in experiments involving various types of venom. The goal, according to the documents, was to develop more effective antidotes through the analysis of neurotoxin effects on young organisms. The documents revealed that St. Mary's Children's Hospital was just one of 12 hospitals in the U.S. participating in this experiment. The others were located in Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Boston, Miami, Denver, Seattle, Portland, Nashville, and Houston. I also discovered that the babies weren't chosen randomly. There was a specific profile: low-income families, single mothers, orphans, or children in vulnerable social situations. People who wouldn't ask too many questions or have the resources to investigate natural deaths. My mind was reeling from the magnitude of this horror when I heard footsteps in the hallway. It was Dr. Harrison, accompanied by 2 men in suits I had never seen before. "Sarah," his voice echoed through the basement. "You've been down here a while. Shouldn't you be taking care of the babies?" I tried to close the files quickly, but it was too late. One of the men stepped closer and saw the Project Serpents documents on my screen. "Dr. Mitchell," said the taller man with a Texas-like accent. "I'm Agent Thompson, FBI. We need you to come with us for a conversation. My world collapsed. They weren't FBI. They were part of the conspiracy. Real federal agents don't show up at 4 a.m. in hospitals injecting babies with venom." "No," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "I'm not going anywhere until someone explains why we're poisoning innocent children." Dr. Harrison let out a heavy sigh. "Sarah, you've always been an exceptional nurse. It's a shame your curiosity is going to end your career, and maybe your life." The second man in a suit pulled out a syringe. Inside, the same greenish liquid I'd seen in the vaccine vials. "This is venom from a Naja pallida, the African spitting cobra. Causes muscle paralysis in about 15 minutes, followed by respiratory failure. Highly effective," he said with clinical coldness. I realized there was no way out. I was trapped in the basement, far from help, with 3 people determined to silence me, permanently. Then I remembered the emergency button every hospital has. I held my breath and ran to the red panel on the wall. "Code Blue, pediatric emergency, basement!" I screamed through the hospital's intercom system. Within seconds, I heard footsteps racing through the floors above. Dr. Harrison and the 2 men exchanged panicked glances. "She's ruined everything," Agent Thompson muttered. "Dr." Harrison grabbed the syringe from the man's hand. "We can't let her leave this place alive. She knows too much." They charged at me, but I had already pulled out my phone and gone live on Facebook. Hundreds of people were watching in real time. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm a nurse at St. Mary's Children's Hospital in Detroit. They are injecting babies with snake venom. I'm being threatened with death right now." The live stream saved my life in that moment. Dr. Harrison and the 2 men froze when they realized hundreds of people were watching. The comments started flooding the screen. "Call the police. This is insane. Record everything. Share this. Share it now." But my relief was short-lived. Agent Thompson pulled out a revolver and pointed it directly at my phone. "Turn that off. Now," he shouted. "I can't," I said. holding the phone toward me. "There are already over 1,000 people watching. If you kill me, they'll all know." Doctor, Harrison seemed to be calculating his options. "Thompson, we can't just shoot her. This would turn into a national scandal." Right then, I heard the elevator doors open. Several people were coming down to the basement. Nurses, doctors, hospital security. My emergency call had worked. "Sarah, where are you?" It was the voice of Janet, my colleague of 5 years. "Over here, in the records room," I shouted as loud as I could. Dr. Harrison motioned to the 2 men. They quickly stashed the syringe and the gun, trying to look professional. When the staff arrived at the records room, they found a seemingly normal scene. Me at the computer, Dr. Harrison and the 2 visitors chatting casually. "Sarah, you triggered a code blue. Where's the pediatric emergency?" asked Dr. Martinez, the attending physician. My mind raced. I was still live, with thousands of people watching. I couldn't lie now. "I found evidence that we've been injecting snake venom into newborns instead of vaccines," I said clearly, looking straight into the phone's camera. For a moment, the room fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. "What? This is insane. Sarah, are you okay?" Dr. Harrison tried to regain control. "Everyone. Nurse Mitchell is under a lot of stress. Sleep deprivation, emotional strain. You know how it is." But Agent Thompson made a fatal mistake. He lunged at me, trying to grab my phone. His aggressive move was caught on the live stream. Janet, who had known me for years, immediately realized something was very wrong. "Sarah, show them what you found," she said, stepping beside me. I showed the Project Serpent's files on the computer. The doctors and nurses were horrified as they read about the experiments, the infant deaths, and the list of hospitals involved. "Oh my God," Dr. Martinez whispered. "This can't be real." That's when Agent Thompson snapped. "Enough! All of you stay quiet about this, or you'll end up like Nurse Mitchell." He had just made a direct threat in front of witnesses, and during a live stream. The viewer count had now passed 10,000. Janet pulled out her phone and dialed 911. "We need police at St. Mary's Children's Hospital, basement records room. We have death threats and evidence of infant poisoning." The situation was spiraling out of control. "Doctor." Harrison and the 2 men started heading for the exit. "You're not going anywhere," said Dr. Martinez, blocking their way with 2 hospital security guards who had just arrived. Then Agent Thompson did something that traumatized me forever. He gave a cold smile and said, "You people have no idea who you're dealing with. Project Serpents has federal backing. We're untouchable." He pulled out his phone and made a call. Code red. "We need full cleanup at St. Mary's. 17 witnesses." My blood ran cold. Cleanup was a euphemism for extermination. They were planning to kill us all. "Everyone," I yelled to the staff. "We need to get out of here now. They're going to kill us." Some people thought I'd lost it, but Janet and Dr. Martinez believed me. We ran toward the emergency stairs. Just then, we heard gunshots from the upper floors. My live stream caught it all. The screams, the chaos, the sound of shattering glass. "They've already started," Janet whispered, tears in her eyes. We reached the hospital parking lot and saw several black vans surrounding the building. Armed men were entering through the front entrance. My live stream was still running, and now over 50,000 people were watching. The comments were frantic. "Call the real FBI. This is a massacre. Record everything as evidence." We made it to my car, but quickly realized we were being followed. 2 black vans were heading toward us. "Sarah," said Dr. Martinez, "you need to hide the evidence. I'm too old to run, but you 2 can still get away." He got out of the car and walked toward the vans, buying us time to escape. I saw them surround him in the rearview mirror. I heard the shot that ended the life of one of the kindest doctors I'd ever known. Janet was crying, but held it together. "Where do we go now?" Far from here, I replied, slamming the gas. We need to reach the media before they find us. But when I turned on the car radio, I heard something that crushed what was left of my hope. Massive fire destroys St. Mary's Children's Hospital in Detroit. Authorities confirm no survivors. The sound of the news report left me in shock. 17 people had died in the hospital, including Dr. Martinez, who sacrificed himself to save us. According to authorities, it was an accidental fire caused by a gas leak. But I knew the truth. And so did the 50,000 people who watched my live stream. Janet and I drove for 3 hours until we reached my sister's house in Grand Rapids. My phone didn't stop ringing the entire way. Calls from journalists, lawyers, and people who had seen the broadcast. Sarah, do you realize this goes way beyond one hospital in Detroit? Janet said, scanning the news on her phone. They're reporting accidental fires in hospitals in Chicago, Atlanta, and Los Angeles, all in the last 6 hours. My heart sank. They were wiping out evidence and witnesses at every hospital involved in Project Serpents. When we arrived at my sister's house, the sight froze me to the core. The front door was open, glass shattered, signs of a struggle. Melissa, my twin sister, was gone. On the bathroom mirror, written in red lipstick, was a message. Stop, or your entire family dies. You have 24 hours. They took my sister, I whispered, feeling my sanity slip. Janet held me. Sarah, we need to take this to the real authorities. The actual FBI, not imposters. But how do you tell the difference between real federal agents and killers in disguise? Who could we trust? The answer came from an unexpected source. My phone rang, and a female voice identified herself as Rachel Cooper, a producer for CBS's 60 Minutes. Sarah, we've been investigating suspicious deaths in pediatric hospitals for 6 months. Your live stream gave us the evidence we needed. Can we meet in a secure location? 2 hours later, we were in a TV studio in Chicago, protected by a private security team. Rachel had contacted Dr. Elena Vasquez, a CDC researcher who had secretly been investigating Project Serpents. Sarah, said Dr. Vasquez, you have no idea how big this conspiracy is. Project Serpents is funded by a pharmaceutical company that manufactures anti-venom. They've been causing the poisonings to create artificial demand for their products. But why babies? I asked, still traumatized. Because infant immune systems react differently to toxins. They were developing more effective anti-venoms using children as test subjects. Dr. Vasquez explained, tears in her eyes. More than 800 babies have died over the last 3 years. Rachel showed me documents her team had uncovered. Ophiotoxin Industries, a shell corporation, had planted operatives in hospitals across 12 states. Dr. Harrison was just one of many corrupted physicians. We go live in 1 hour, Rachel said. Your story is going to blow this wide open. But 30 minutes before airtime, we got a call that changed everything. Sarah? It was my sister's voice, but something was off. Please don't go on TV. They'll kill me. Melissa, where are you? I'm coming for you. Listen, Sarah. They told me something. Project Serpents isn't over. They have labs in other countries, Mexico, Brazil, Russia. Thousands of children will die if you expose them. My world crumbled again. Even if I told the truth, more children would keep dying. Melissa, no matter what happens to me, this story has to be told. Sarah, I love you. Don't forget me. The call ended, and my phone buzzed with a new message. A video. It was my sister, tied to a chair, with Agent Thompson beside her, holding a syringe filled with the greenish liquid. Last chance, Nurse Mitchell. Cancel the interview or your sister learns what it feels like to die from coral snake venom. I looked at Rachel, Dr. Vasquez, Janet. They were all waiting for my decision. Rachel, I said, voice steady. We go live. Now. The interview aired live to 15 million viewers. I shared all the evidence, documents, recordings, testimonies. Within 48 hours, the story had gone global. The real FBI arrested 47 people connected to Project Serpents. Ophiotoxin Industries was dismantled. 12 hospitals were shut down and stripped of their licenses. But my sister was never found. Today, 3 years later, I live under a protected identity in a small town in Oregon. I never worked as a nurse again. I wake up every night to nightmares of crying babies and glowing green syringes. I still receive anonymous letters every month. Always the same message. We know where you are. The project continues elsewhere. You can't stop all of us. And the most terrifying part? I know they're right. Because 2 weeks ago, I read a news story about a sudden infant death syndrome outbreak at a hospital in São Paulo, Brazil. The symptoms were identical to what I saw in Detroit. Project Serpents didn't die. It just moved. And I'm the only person alive who knows the whole truth. That's why I tell this story. So you'll know. So you'll question. So you'll protect your children. Because somewhere in the world right now, an innocent baby is about to receive a vaccine that's actually snake venom, and I can't stop it. The most terrifying truth is the one that keeps happening even after the story ends. Subscribe now and join our community of the brave, those who dare to face the darkest side of the truth.